one next to another. This is why attendance must be taken now at the beginning of the presentation and also at the end of the second presentation at 10 o'clock. There are helpers that are back of the auditorium in case you need some help. Today's first plenary is going to be a video conference by Evelyn Shaw Ojeda. The topic of the plenary is Teachers as Effective Change Agent in TESOL. Let's give her a warm welcome with a big round of applause that passed this screen.
Hello, good morning everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much for this invitation. I really wish I was there, but hopefully in 2018 I will be able to join you face to face. So today, sorry about the delay, we had technical problems. As some of you know, I'm located in the Netherlands. I'm a Venezuelan professor, but I've been living in the Netherlands for the last 5 years. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how to become or how English teachers can be change agents in their context. So I'm going to share my screen to get started. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a background of how this presentation came about. Last February, in February 2017, more than 200 TESOL professionals got together in Greece and reflected and discussed the future of the TESOL profession. It was a two-day event, and I participated as part of the steering committee. And many very insightful and interesting roundtable discussions took place regarding the future of the TESOL profession as a complex, ever-changing field. We know as TESOL professionals that this is a very complex field. So we're supported by inquiry, equity, and professionalism as the guiding principles, and with the purpose of discussing the current state of our profession, along how the future, or how we envision the future of TESOL. Many professionals, around 200 professionals from different backgrounds, came together and we discussed 4 themes. We discussed futurology, English and multilingualism, reimagining English competence, and the profession as a change agent. As a teacher, an educator myself, as I'm a teacher educator as well, what I was very interested about the conversations, because I have always asked myself, how can I change my reality? How can I be a change agent? How can I innovate in my classroom? Am I an expert? Am I good enough to do so? How can I, as a normal, regular English teacher, can change the world one student at a time? So with all these questions, we got together, as I said, in 2017, and maybe some of you were there, and we started having these wonderful conversations, and we came up with a few insights and very important reflections that I want to share with you today.
Sorry.
Actually, sorry?
Sorry, Evelyn, we cannot see your slides.
You can't see the slide?
Yeah, you're showing the slides, yes?
I am. Okay, yeah. So let me do it again, okay?
Thank you.
So what are you seeing? You're seeing my camera?
Yes, we can see you very well, but okay.
How about now?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the slides. We have two windows.
Well, it should be showing right now.
Yeah.
I can see that you can only see my screen. Let me see. Yes. Let me do it again.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yes, you can turn on.
I'm very familiar with... okay, let me see.
If you want, you can turn on instead of to see you, just see your slides. Is it possible?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. How about now? You can't. Okay, so let me just... I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to share again just to see... No. That's very strange. I'm very familiar with Zoom, and it's the first time it happens.
Yes.
But there you are. There you are.
Yes,
There you are.
yes,
There you are.
Yes, yes. Teachers.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I'm going to close my. Let me open my camera just to see if
That's
it
okay.
still works. Okay. Well, you don't see me now, but that's okay. That's okay. I prefer you to see the screen. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about how teachers can become effective affective change agents in TESOL. First of all, I want to start with this quote. It says, teaching at its core is a moral profession. Scratch a good teacher and you will find a moral purpose. I wanted to share this with you all because I know for a fact, as a Latin American teacher, as a South American teacher, that when we enter the teaching profession, we do it with a big dream. We want to change the world. We want to make a difference. We want to do way more than just teaching. So that's why it is so important to know what we have to do to become change agents, especially in our profession, in the TESOL profession. So for me, every teacher, before getting into what a change agent is, let's discuss a little bit what every teacher should know, be committed to, and have skills. So you as teacher should be able to work with different students, be able to embrace equity in your classroom, which means that you have to respect linguistic diversity, students from different cultural backgrounds and races and genders, and students with special needs. You also need to have the knowledge, be committed, and have skills so as to continue learning. We know that teaching isn't going learning. Whoever is into the teaching profession knows that, hey, you don't stop reading, you don't stop updating yourself. You also need to know way more than just teaching, right? You need to develop and apply knowledge of curriculum, instruction. You need to know, if you want to teach, you also need to know about learning, right? You also need to know how to evaluate and implement programs that are suitable for your learners. So you also need to be able to initiate, value, and practice collaboration and partnerships, not only with your students, but also with other teachers, with parents, with the community, with the government, with social and business agencies. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about teaching, when we talk about education, everyone is involved. You also need to be able to develop a personal philosophy in which you know that the context we're working with, it's important. And the decisions that you make in your classroom are informed by the community, by your society, by the context you're working in. Now, the question remains, okay? So I know what I need to know, I know the skills I need, but how can I, myself, as a normal teacher, as a mainstream teacher, develop professionally while making an impact in my community? Well, we all say that we have superpowers, that we're super teachers. But how can we use those powers, superpowers that we have as teachers, to become effective and effective change agents in TESOL? That's the question we're going to try to answer today. So as to get started with this conversation, let me go back to 2017, when we got together in Athens, Greece, we were given 3 questions. And those 3 questions led to wonderful conversations that came up with wonderful and very useful, applicable conclusions. So we talked about how stakeholders can become more nimble and risk tolerant. Also, how can practice, shape, and inform policy and research? And how can we, TESOL professionals, be empowered to instigate and sustain innovation? So all these 3 questions were discussed, and we came up with the following conclusions. First of all, what is change, and what is a change agent? Well, change is anything that modifies a process, a workflow, anything that achieves better results, that is done to achieve better results. What we know as teachers, as human beings, that it doesn't happen overnight. You need to be consistent, persistent, and know exactly what you want, and know that you won't get it maybe at first, but you have to keep on doing it. As an educator, it is important not to only tell your students or your community what change is about. You can articulate and define change, but you need to show what change is about. People need to see you and feel like, hey, she is or he is an innovation, or she is someone who can change our context for the better. Now, what is a change agent? Well, it changes anything that happens to make things better, to achieve better results. So a change agent is someone who intentionally, or maybe not intentionally, causes or accelerates any type of change. It can be social, cultural, educational, behavioral, any change. What's important here is that you can be a change agent. We cannot wait for authorities to become change agents. You don't need to have lots of power to become change agents. Any TESOL professional can be one. And when I talk about TESOL professionals, I'm talking about teachers, material designers, I'm talking about researchers, I'm talking about publishers, I'm talking about principals, admin, any people, any person involved in the TESOL profession. So what are the characteristics of a change agent? Okay, someone who changes a reality for the better. But yeah, what is it exactly? Well, first of all, a change agent has a clear vision of or change agents have a clear vision of what they want. So they know exactly what they want to get, and they know exactly how they envision the future. They need to be patient and persistent. That means that you know that change doesn't happen overnight, that you need to keep on trying. You also need to ask tough questions. When we are given a situation, what we experience a situation, it's very easy to go along with it. It's very easy to get used to it. When you start asking difficult, challenging questions is when change starts to happen. You start to feel like something needs to be changed or innovated. You need to know what change is, but also you need to lead by example. How many times have we been told, you're a teacher, you need to lead by example? But this is one of those. As a change agent, you need to be able to show what change is about. And you need to also have strong relationships built on trust. You need to get surrounded by people who you trust and who trust you. Why? Because it's not practical, it's not real to think that you can change a reality just by yourself. You need people around to get you support, to get the support that you need. Now, let's narrow this conversation and talk, okay? Just so we know what we need to know, be committed to, be skilled in. We also know the features, characteristics of change agents in general. And then, how can I be a change agent in TESOL? Well, first of all, you need to be aware of the political, social, legal, cultural, and economic megatrends in your context. I'm very sure Bolivia has a totally different context than Venezuela, even though we share certain aspects. We are similar in certain ways. But you need to be aware of all that, because then you need to see where you need to intervene and make a change. You also need to advocate for better, fair language education for everyone, for the poor, for the rich, for the ones with special needs, for those students who we know are at risk, for those communities, for those places in which you know education hasn't reached there yet, for those people who really need to be educated to have a better future. Also, we need to rethink what language competency is about. And also we need to unmask what a really good English language teacher is. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this, because this is something that we face every time. And it's been 30 years, 40 years, and we're still talking about language competence in terms of the native speaker. So the native speaker norm is the goal. You need to sound like a native speaker. Well, I'm here to tell you that that definition needs to be challenged, because being the native, sounding like a native speaker, being like a native speaker is not the goal anymore. We know, as a change agent in TESOL, we need to reflect and we need to know what to do to overcome that standard, the native speaker standard, and address the changing realities of English language use around the world. How do we do that? Well, let's start by having this conversation with your principal, with your students, with those around you in your school, having conversations about how English is used for so many reasons around the world. How there's way more than American English and British English and Australian English. So this conversation needs to take place in the classrooms, needs to take place in the teacher's room, so as to be able to make actually an effective change. Now we also need to embrace the mother tongue. Yes, I know that you have heard 1,000 times, English only in your classroom. You cannot speak Spanish. You can't, because that way you won't be able to learn English. Well, I'm afraid to tell you that that is not true, and actually has been proven by research. So change agents are able to allow local language, allow home languages to support English language learning and instruction. That means that you use the L1 of your students as a resort to learn an L2. They not only allow students to speak in the language as long as they are on task, they are also able to cultivate and encourage multilingualism. And that includes publishing houses. I'm not talking only about teachers, also publishing houses and material designers being able to embrace the idea of multilingualism so as to walk away from the English-only policy. Also, change agents are able to design lessons that they meet their students' need. And they design lessons that they embrace, again, a multilingual society. Where I live now in the Netherlands, anyone speaks 3-4 languages easily. Dutch, French, and English, at least. So having a multilingual society is quite normal in most countries. So we need to embrace that idea in our classrooms. We also have to leverage linguistic diversity while teaching English. And that is, what is it that we have to do as change agents? We need to reflect on what to do so as to incorporate our students' L1 into our daily teaching practice. I'm not saying it is easy. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's feasible. And it's possible, especially in a context like Bolivia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, in which most of our students share the same L1, Spanish. It's way easier to do so. Now, also effective change agents in TESOL are able to align programs and policies with the needs of their students. You are an expert in your classroom. Even though maybe people say, oh, are you a teacher? And it's just like, oh, I don't know. I'm just talking from my experience in Venezuela. Oh, what do you do for a living? I'm a teacher. Oh, it's not that nice. Well, I think it's wonderful. And we are experts in our classroom. This is something that you have to keep in mind. You are an expert in teaching. So an effective change agent in TESOL is able to take programs and policies and tailor them so as to meet the needs of their learners. Important thing to say is that we also need to be able to connect research to the real questions all TESOL professionals have. What I mean by this is that I know that you have been there as well. How many times do you have a question concerning any teaching practice, any method, strategy, and then you go and you read research and it doesn't really connect to you, doesn't really connect to your reality? Well, what we need to do is be ourselves the researchers and try to do action research in our classrooms so as to ask and answer the real questions that we have. Also, change agents in TESOL are able to use social media and local teachers associations like Beta Bolivia TESOL to help promote local inquiry that resonates globally and involves everyone. I'm very sure that there is wonderful research done in Bolivia, but if it's not spread, if it's not published, we don't know. Maybe I'm doing some research someone else in Bolivia already did. So it's important to be able to use teachers associations. So on social media, just to spread the word, to spread everything they're doing in the classroom in a way that it doesn't really stay in Bolivia, but it resonates globally. Change agents in TESOL are also able to find ways to make teachers' voice heard. And by heard, I mean make teachers' voice evidence to guide TESOL policies. Unfortunately, in many countries, TESOL policies, education policies, are led by people who know nothing about education, who know really little about education. And mostly never, teachers are sitting at the table where decisions are made. So we need to find ways to have this teacher's voice be heard, and to use them as data to guide policies in TESOL field. We also need to, and I'm very, very passionate about this, we need to embrace diversity and equity. We need to strive for equity in teaching hiring practice, and we have to get away from that idea of the native, non-native English speaker teacher. It's actually a controversy, and it's not worth it, because we know that we are all necessary in this field. We know that there are more non-native teachers than native ones, and we know that we all can contribute to this field in amazing ways. We also need to stay true to the core values of equity and professionalism. And we need to actually find ways to let administration, staff, and principals, and language institute owners know that they need to have equity in teaching hiring practice, that they cannot post a job saying only native speakers, as if instruction is not important, as if teaching strategies are not important. What's important is your passport. So effective change agents in TESOL are able to strive for that equity that we so need in our field. They also are able to join, we have to join and empower teachers' associations so as to be able to be part of the making process of the initiatives that take place in TESOL, and of course, to make decisions. And when I say join and empower, I mean join as you are today, sitting there and join a wonderful conference whose final day is today, but also to join them in an active way, empower them with your expertise, with your knowledge, with your skill. And take advantage of your participation today to reach out for other visionary leaders in the TESOL field, in Bolivia, in neighbor countries, or anywhere. But try to get connected with other teachers who also want to make a change in TESOL. And I'm mentioning here TESOL International Association because I'm an active part of it. ITESOL or BETA, but it can be any other teacher association, local, national, and international. The idea is that you don't feel isolated, that you don't feel alone, because you as teacher are not. Sometimes when we're teachers, we feel like it's us teachers against 40 students, 40, 50, 60. But it's not like that. Teachers can learn from each other. As we say at TESOL, teachers helping each other is what we are looking for as change agents in TESOL. Now, I know that you're thinking, okay, I have to strive for equity. I have to find ways to incorporate innovation. I want to do that, but how? Well, I'm going to give you 9 questions that you can ask yourself, or you can ask the change agent in you, because I believe that there is a change agent in every one of us. So let's start with the questions. The first one, think about your school, your university, or your institute, the institution you work for. Do you see opportunities for positive change that others at your institution maybe don't see? Maybe they have new ideas about where to look for new ideas. Sometimes you see an opportunity for positive change, but you just don't know how to change it. So you should know then how to look for new ideas to change that situation. Are you the most of anything, Maybe it sounds really like a strange question, but so as to be a change agent, you need to be the most of anything. It means you don't need to be good, you need to be really good. Not only at teaching, but also at communicating, at finding ways to embrace change and innovation in your environment. If your idea or mission didn't come forth, who would miss you and why? So are you really important in your institution? Are you really heard? If you have an idea and that idea doesn't really work out, will you try again? As a change agent, do you add value or just create noise? Do you want to be a change agent because you want to be famous, you want to be highlighted in your community, or because you really think you can do something valuable for your community? Have you figured out how your school's history can help to shape its future? It's important to look back so as to be able to look forward. Are you getting the best contributions from the most people, as I said at the beginning, so as to become a change agent in any field? You need to get together with the people that want the same as you want. And are you consistent in your commitment to change? Action research can help you. So, as I said before, persistent, consistent is the key to be able to actually achieve the changes that you want. If you feel like, I know that this needs to change, but I don't know how, then action research can actually help you. And doing action research in your classroom is not as difficult as it sounds. It's about commitment, it's about reading, it's about preparing yourself to create the best learning environment for your students and to be able to go with this trial and error scenario. Then the last question is, are you learning as fast as the world is changing? I'm a teacher educator, and what I always talk to my students is that you can never stop learning. Don't believe that because you're teaching, you don't need to learn. It's the opposite. Because you're teaching, learning never stops. So I know what you feel like, wow, yeah, I know what makes an effective change agent in Xxiv, but okay, I need to take into consideration the past, to investigate the present so as to think about the future and change the future. But it's too much. Is that possible? Is it too challenging? Well, I'm going to be honest and say, yes, it is. It's challenging. It takes time. It takes commitment, but it's totally possible. If we think about how we want the future of our profession be, if we think about we want a TESOL field in which we are all welcome, in which we're all trained or educated in ways that we can actually change the world one student at a time. So thank you so much. This is my email in case you want the presentation. I can totally send it to you. And this is the link, TESOL.org/summit 2017. This is the link to all the conversations we've had in Greece. They are recorded. We have 13 presenters. They're there with lots of questions and lots of documents that you can use with your students if you're a teacher educator. And you can use with your principals. So thank you so much. Congratulations, Bolivia TESOL, for this wonderful convention. I hope to see you next year face to face.
Thank you, dear Evelyn. We have 2 minutes if you want to, please, the participant wants to ask you some questions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Please, do you have some question for Evelyn?
Well, maybe I do have, if there are no questions for me, I have a question for them to see who wants to answer.
Oh, great. So?
Okay, I wanted to ask how feasible or how possible it is to become a change agent in Bolivia as an English teacher. Do you think that Bolivia education system gives you enough room to innovate and to change for the better in your classroom?
Who wants to answer the question? Here we go.
Anyone? I'm not able to see the audience, so I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I'm trying to find a person.
Hey, we're teachers. We're supposed to like talking, right?
Beatriz. Beatriz? Thank you, Beatriz.
Thank you, Isela. Good morning, everyone. Hi, how you doing?
Morning.
My name is Beatriz. And, oh, sorry. I think it is absolutely possible to become a change of agent and to touch not only the minds, but also the hearts, and to teach values in our
Agree.
classes. Because we have an advantage that other teachers do not have. We do not have to teach just math or just chemistry or just physics. We can talk about everything in our classes. Even if
Absolutely.
the principal of the institution tells you it's not okay to talk about religion or politics, we can do it. I'm an advocate to eliminate the violence against women, and I always talk about those things in my classes. And I also talk about being an accepting person and a tolerant person. So I do it in my classes because I have the opportunity to talk about any topic that I can. And my students are always open to it. I do it through English. English is my tool to bring these topics to the table of discussions with them. And you cannot imagine how much I have learned from my students, because they really want to talk about these topics. They want to be informed, and they want also their voices to be heard. And I help them to do that in my classes. So I totally agree with our presenter, with Evelyn. We can do it. And please forgive me for my next words. I think we have to do it. It's our obligation, because our country needs these changes, and we can do it. We can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see and to hear that Bolivian teachers have this freedom to talk about anything they want. And I think that's key when it comes to becoming change agents in our field. So thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Evelyn. Let me introduce, because most of things already here. She has been an active member of Xxiv since 1999, starting as a regional representative and organizing several successful events. Ever since, she was Xxiv president, 2013-2015. She's from Venezuela, and now she's living in Amsterdam. So we have the video conference from Amsterdam.
Yeah. Hopefully next year we'll be face to face. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Evelyn.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Enjoy the convention. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, now as I said at the beginning of the conference, you are going to have another plenary, and remember that the attendance must be taken at the end of this one. The next speaker taught English, French, and Japanese for over 18 years in Asia, Africa, and the US. She holds an MA in TESL from the School of International Training in Vermont, USA. She is also an author of over 20 textbooks. Today she is going to present you the topic, Guilty Secrets, some unfashionable but effective teaching techniques. Let's give Dorothy Semach a big round of applause.